And welcome back. It's finally time to talk about this little beauty over here, the Fuji X-H2s. Finally, the new flagship camera from Fujifilm. And let me tell you, it's going to be hard to hold back the excitement because, spoiler alert, it seems to be a really great camera. Now, let's talk about a couple of super easy stuff. I'm gonna focus this video, which is a very first impressions, on those things that I'm most interested in, and those are the things that I wanted to be improved over the X-T4, and that is stabilization in video and autofocus in both video and pictures. This means that I'm not going to dive into image quality. I'm not going to dive into how the sensor does in high ISO and all of that. That is going to come with the full review, and I'm pretty sure that by the time I push the full review out, there's going to be a lot of analysis on the sensor and all of that. But let's start with the basics. Let's start with the body design and the way it feels and looks. From a size standpoint, you're seeing here with 16 to 80 millimeters, the camera is not that big. I was concerned that the camera was going to be too big and too heavy, but honestly, its size and weight are fairly similar to the X-T4, so it's nice. And the grip here, it's of course way better than that of the X-T4. One thing that it's outstanding, and it's really outstanding, it's the EVF, the electronic viewfinder. Guys, it's hard to explain on a video, but if you look into it, you will see the great jump in quality from the X-T4. And the X-T4 wasn't bad either. It was a good one, but this is just otherworldly compared to it. So really, really nice thing. Let's start talking about dials, buttons, and all of that. And let me start with a couple of things that I hated from the day it got announced. And I thought, and I will probably adjust to it, but the lack of the possibility to click these dials over here is, to me, stupid, because every Fuji camera has had this one, like always, and so readjusting to it, it's gonna be something that will force me to think about it. And when I'm gonna have my X-T4 back, right now I'm recording on the DJI Pocket 2. Once I'm going to have my X-T4 back, the fact that in one camera I have it, in the other camera I don't have it, it doesn't make too much sense. So this is something like the thing that I hate the most about the camera, because it just doesn't make too much sense. One thing that I didn't like either is that because of these two things not being clickable, I definitely miss an exposure compensation dial like here on top of the camera, because it would have helped. It's nice that we have all of these customizable functions over here. We can switch easily between photos and videos and all of that. I don't understand why we have this filter over here. This is supposed to be a flagship professional camera. I don't know why someone interested in this camera would use the filters, and so to me it's a missed opportunity to use it for something different. I don't know, like maybe they could use video and then video high frame rate. I don't know, something like that. I really like the fact that they got rid of those sticky, those like buttons that were sticking out. It's a lot easier to attach anything to just these flat profiles. It's a lot better. And as I said in my previous video, all of these doors are done really, really good, and you open them one at a time, and like they're all made in a way that makes a lot of sense. And even the full size HDMI port, it just flops down here, and so it doesn't get in the way. When you're in a vlogging style condition, you just have this out with the microphone, and as you can see, the flippy screen doesn't get, let me remove this, doesn't get covered by the microphone. So this is a nice thing. I really like the nipple here. How's it called? The joystick here. It feels really nice in my hand. It's exactly what I would like it, and I really like also the fact that they went for 3 different sizes over here, just to let you understand without even touching which button you're about to press. One other thing that I didn't like is that the shutter button is a little bit mushy. I prefer the way the XT4 is. It gets you more confidence that when you're shooting, but again, not a big deal. And in general, the camera is built really well, and it's fully customizable. I haven't customized all of the buttons and the functions yet. I've only had the camera for a week. The battery is the battery is the same of the XT4, and it seems to be a little bit more efficient on the battery, so nice there. And the display over here kind of makes up for the lack of those physical dials that we used to have in Fuji. Now, physical dials, will I miss those? In photography, probably yes, because I'm so used to those that I will probably miss them. Not in video. I'm not gonna miss those in video. Although again, having these 2 clickable, the one and the front, would have made a lot of sense. The stabilization is really good. It was already good in the Fuji, and for pictures in the XT4, and for pictures I didn't have too much to complain about, because I was able to shoot very long exposures without thinking about too much. This one seems to be even a little bit better. I was able to shoot with a 13mm Viltrox. Almost 1 second is 1.3 over 1 second shot, handheld, without like even having something to just rest my arms and all that. So just normal shooting condition, and the majority of the shots were sharp and enjoyable. And this is a great thing, because the 13mm is not a stabilized lens, so we're only talking about the sensor stabilization. But when I had the most concerns was the way the stabilizer works in video, because the stabilizer, as I said, for the XT4 was already great in pictures, so there was nothing to worry about. But for videos, it was a little bit too jerky. It would like fight your movement, your deliberate movement at the beginning, and then it would catch up with a jumpy movement that was not pleasing at all. And I'm happy to report from my first testing here and there that this is not the case anymore. It seems like they worked on the algorithm for the stabilization, and the stabilizer in video is a lot more gentle in the way it catches up with movement, and everything seems to be more pleasing to the eye, especially on deliberate movement. The fact that they say that you can get rid of the gimbal, it's not true, but we all expected that. You can definitely have steady shots, but if you're walking, there's no way you are getting rid of a gimbal. You still see the stabilizer trying to work, but not being able to compensate everything. So it's good for what it's supposed to be, and I did not expect to be a gimbal-free kind of experience. What I realized also is that they improved the way it works with stabilized lenses. With both the 10-24 and the 16-80, there seemed to be a little bit of misunderstanding between the two stabilizer in the XT4, because with the 10-24 I would get a lot of jerkiness in the corners with the 10-24, and this is not the case anymore. It's a lot better. It works a lot better with a stabilized lens, and everything seems to be more pleasing. You're seeing it right now. And with the 16-80, despite a couple of firmware upgrades on the camera, it was jerky, and now it's a lot better. You're seeing a panning with the 16-80 right now, both left to right and top to bottom, and it's a lot better than it used to be on the X-T4. So I'm happy to report that the stabilization got better. Let's talk autofocus. And this is where, guys, I'm the most excited about, because from my first, it's a week that I've been testing this camera, it's night and day difference compared to the X-T4. And the X-T4 wasn't bad, but this camera is a lot better in in every aspect of the autofocusing experience. Starting from vlogging situation where it never lost me once, despite I was with the 16-80, the 10-24 or the 13 millimeters 1.4 by Viltrox, despite me turning away and giving just the back of my head to the camera, it would not miss one single frame. It's perfectly fine. And then I walked around, I played around with the trees and stuff like that, trying to see if it would follow me, and everything seems to be very sticky, very reliable. And this is just the first firmware. This is the first official firmware. I only expect it to get even better with improvement via firmware upgrades. Where the autofocus is really shining is the subject recognition. I could try with cars, with my cat, with birds, and just coming from shooting birds, and the birds were very, very far away. And despite that, the camera was still able to see them and track them despite during flight and all of that. Now, in Sicily, this is not the best moment to shoot wildlife, especially birds, because there's basically no water around, so they are very far from the river sides, and so I couldn't get a decent shot of a decently close bird. But from the first impressions that I'm getting from what I've seen, it's really night and day difference when it comes to the subject tracking. The car, I was tracking the car, it was going away. Of course, when it's too distant, it tends to lose it, but once you're approaching, it follows it incredibly good. And even if I was going full throttle against the camera, it didn't miss the shot at all. And this is impressive because, again, it's nice. It's nice. I also shot a concert, and again, during the concert, it did pretty nice. The only lens that didn't work as The others is the Viltrox 85mm 1.8. And this is, if you have seen my review on that, this is because of the lens. The lens is not good for video autofocus at all. So the camera was tracking the right eye, but if you're seeing the footage right now, the footage was going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. But that's the only in the situation where I had the tree right behind the face of the piano player. When I was going on the trumpet player, it was already good and was striking nice. So the 85mm Viltrox is the least reliable of the lenses that I've tried. But all the rest, like the 33, was perfect. Absolutely perfect. And so, yes, we are finally there. Now, I also had the chance to go at the Sony day and the day after at the Canon day, so I could compare those performance. And in my opinion, but again, it's trying the cameras for 15-20 minutes tops, I would say that the Canon R3 is still better, and the R6 and the R5 are just a bit better than the Fuji, and the Fuji seems to be better than the Sony A7 IV, and just a little bit behind the Sony A1. There's one thing that I miss, and it is something that Canon has, and something that is you can do in Fuji with pictures, but you cannot do in photos, which is tap on a subject, whatever that subject is, and have the camera track it during video. You can do it in pictures like you're seeing right now, but there's no option in video to do that. If Fuji listens to this, please add it on a firmware upgrade. I think the technology is there. You can do it. And the camera tracks those subjects great. Like it never misses a shot on that. Please translate that into video. You not always have faces, birds, or specific subjects. You may want to track a tree or a part of a tree. And since the camera can do it in photos, I would love to be able to do it in video. I forgot to mention that I got the camera to overheat. I was under the sun for about a half hour, something like that. It was 40 degrees almost. The sun was hitting the camera directly, and was screen recording to show you the tracking, and at the same time I was shooting bursts and I was shooting videos and all of that. So I was putting the camera under some stress, and the camera handled it pretty well, because yes, I got the overheating signal, but it was a warning. It was not, the camera didn't turn off. It was the yellow one. It was not the red one. And my setting for that is still the normal one. I didn't get to the extended overheating capacity. So there's still room for improvement. I could not expect a camera under the sun, full sun of Sicily at 4 p.m. In a super warm day, not to try to overheat. So to me, it's not a big deal, but I felt I had to inform you on that. In general, guys, we are finally there. This camera that I have in my hands is finally a flagship. I haven't looked at the files at high ISO and all of that. We'll talk about it in my review, but in general, it seems like we finally have a competitor to the other cameras in the market. And if you think about stacked sensors, if you think about 6K and all of that, there's nothing that compares to this camera when it comes to price, performance, including autofocus. So leaving like the GX6 in a different planet, there's nothing that compares to it. And so this camera is really, really good. There are things that probably need some improvement, and I'll keep you updated. I'm gonna post more than another video on this camera, but we're finally there. We are finally there. I can say that already in my first impressions, because even though there are probably cameras that are gonna be a little bit better, we're talking a little bit, not like a huge margin like we had with the X-T4. And ultimately, this is what we've all been looking for in the last like 4, 5, 6 years, and now we finally have it. I really wanna compliment Fuji for what they've done. This camera is great. If you only didn't remove the clickable buttons back and front, it would be basically perfect. I think for today, like for my first impressions, I went even longer than I expected. So I will only ask you to subscribe if you like the video, and if you wanna be informed about my other videos, activate the bell and share the video because it helps. And let me know in the comments below what do you want me to test, what do you want me to do in my full review of the camera. If I have the tools to do it, I will try to just do what you ask me to. That's it for today. Ciao, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.